Hello, today we're going to tackle a crucial topic for modern educators, AI bias. As AI tools become increasingly common in our classroom, from writing assistants to educational apps, we need to understand how bias can creep into these systems and affect our students. We'll explore practical strategies to spot, address and prevent AI bias from impacting our teaching. By the end of this session, you'll have concrete tools to use AI more responsibly and teach your students to be critical consumers of AI-generated content. AI bias isn't just a technical problem, it's an educational equity issue. When an AI system consistently provides different quality responses based on gender, ethnicity, socio-economic background, or other characteristics, that's bias in action. Think of it this way. If you asked an AI writing assistant to suggest career paths for students and it consistently suggested nursing for girls and engineering for boys, that's bias. These systems learn from data created by humans, so they often inherit our conscious and unconscious biases. In education, this is particularly problematic because it can shape how students see themselves and their possibilities. Let's break down the three main types of bias that you'll encounter. First, there's training data bias. This is when AI systems learn from historical data that contains discrimination. For example, if an AI was trained on literature from the 1950s, it might reflect the gender roles of that era. Second, algorithmic bias occurs in how the AI makes decisions. The actual code might inadvertently prioritize certain patterns over others. And finally, representation bias happens when some groups are simply missing or underrepresented in the training data. If an AI was trained primarily on texts from Western cultures, it might struggle to understand or represent other cultural perspectives accurately. Here are some concrete examples you might encounter. Search engines might show different career suggestions for identical CVs with different names, or prioritise certain historical figures over others. Writing assistants often favour standard English dialects, potentially marking perfectly valid regional variations as incorrect. I've seen educational apps recommend books that predominantly feature characters from one demographic, or assessment tools that assume familiarity with specific cultural references. These aren't just minor inconveniences, they send powerful messages to students about whose voices matter and what normal looks like. Spotting bias requires developing a critical eye. Look for patterns in AI responses. Are the examples always featuring the same types of people? When you ask for historical examples, do you get a diverse range of figures or predominantly the same demographic? Try this practical test. Ask the same question about different groups and compare the responses. For instance, ask for leadership qualities and see if the language differs when discussing men versus women leaders. Also watch for cultural assumptions. Does the AI assume all students celebrate Christmas or understand cricket references? These patterns often reveal underlying biases. I want to give you a practical framework, the dive method. Before using any AI generated content with students, dive in with these 4 checks. First, diversity. Scan the content for representation across different groups. Second, inclusion. Put yourself in different students' shoes. Might anyone feel left out or misrepresented? Third, verification. Don't rely solely on AI. Check key facts and perspectives against diverse sources. And finally, ethics. Ask yourself if this content might reinforce harmful stereotypes. Additionally, try testing variations of your prompts with different demographic descriptors and see if responses change inappropriately. When you spot bias, resist the temptation to ignore it or use the content anyway to save time. Instead, see it as a valuable information about that particular AI tool's limitations. Modify the content to be more inclusive or find supplementary materials that provide missing perspectives. Keep a record of biases you encounter. This helps you become better at spotting patterns. Most importantly, don't hide these discoveries from your students. Age appropriately These become fantastic teaching moments about critical thinking, media literacy, and the importance of questioning any source, including AI. Prevention is always better than cure. Don't rely on a single AI tool. Different systems have different biases, so using multiple platforms gives you a more complete picture. Think of AI as one voice in a diverse chorus, not only the singer. When planning lessons, actively consider your students' backgrounds and ensure AI content doesn't inadvertently exclude or stereotype any of them. Make bias checking a routine part of your lesson preparation, just like checking for spelling errors. And importantly, build discussions about AI bias into your digital literacy curriculum. Make it a normal part of how students learn to evaluate information. You can actively combat bias through how you write your prompts. Instead of accepting whatever the AI gives you first, be specific about wanting diversity. Add phrases like include examples from different cultural backgrounds, or provide perspectives from various communities. If you're asking for historical examples, specifically request voices that might be overlooked. When asking for character examples in literature discussions, explicitly ask for diverse representation. Think of prompt writing as a skill. The more precisely you communicate your values to the AI, the better chance you have of getting inclusive content. Our students are growing up with AI, so teaching them to be critical consumers is essential. Give them specific questions to ask when evaluating AI content. Who's missing is particularly powerful. It helps students notice when AI responses lack diversity. Teach them to spot assumptions the AI might be making about culture, family structures, or economic situations. Create practical activities where students compare AI responses with diverse human sources, or search how AI represents their own communities. Make bias detection engaging through games and challenges. Remember, you're not teaching students to fear AI, but to use it thoughtfully and critically. It's important to understand that addressing AI bias isn't just good practice, it's a legal requirement. Under the Equality Act of 2010, schools have a duty to eliminate discrimination and advance equality of opportunity. This means if we're using AI tools that consistently disadvantage certain groups of students, we could be breaching our legal obligations. Additionally, our safeguarding responsibilities extend to protecting students from harmful digital content, including biased AI outputs. When you encounter significant bias issues, don't try to solve them alone. Escalate to senior leadership and involve your IT department. Document these incidences as they help inform whole school AI policies. Remember, you're not expected to be the AI police, but you are expected to act when you notice problems. Transparency with parents and the wider community is essential for maintaining trust. Many parents have concerns about AI in education. Some worry it's replacing teachers. Others are concerned about bias or privacy. Be proactive in communicating how you use AI tools and what safeguards you have in place. Emphasize that AI is a tool that supports your teaching, not something that replaces your professional judgment. Share examples of how you check for bias and how you're teaching their children to be critical thinkers. When parents see that you are thoughtfully addressing these issues rather than blindly adopting technology, they're much more likely to support your approach. Consider including a section in your school newsletter about responsible AI use, and ensure your school's AI policy is easily accessible to families. Let's finish with your resources and next steps. The organisations listed here provide excellent, regularly updated guidance on AI bias in education. This week, I challenge you to test at least one AI tool you currently use with the dive method. Choose one specific area where you'll implement bias checking routines. Share what you learn with colleagues. These conversations help build awareness across your school community. Also, take a moment to review your school's AI policy, and if it doesn't address bias, that's valuable feedback for leadership. Remember, encountering AI bias doesn't mean you've done something wrong. These are systematic issues that we're all learning to navigate. Every time you spot bias, address it, or teach a student to think critically about AI. You're making a positive impact. Our goal isn't to have perfect answers about AI, but to model thoughtful, critical engagement with technology. Your students will learn more from watching you question and evaluate AI outputs than from any perfect AI-generated lesson plan. Thank you. Remember, responsible AI use is a journey, and we're all in this together.